Hello and welcome to your extended reading for the new beginnings. This is a new beginning for me and it's also going to be a new beginning for you. So I'll go ahead and get started. If you're finding this because you've watched the overall video, then some of the graphics here will be familiar to you. And let me fix this here. And behind me, I have a couple paintings that I did a long time ago, symbolizing left brain, right brain. And you know, this kind of like flip that happens in the body, how the right brain controls the left side and the right side and the left brain are connected, you know. So we have these interesting polarities that are a theme in my work and then a theme in my readings. So if this is resonating with you, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper with those in particular. Okay. So yeah, this is not scripted. I'm just going to go through and read the cards. But before we get too far into it, I do spend time at the beginning pulling cards for each sign, and I've kind of like printed them out here. And there's a map, which I'll put up here next to it. So I wanted to say that overall, because we all have every sign, these themes are important for the new beginning. So we have the Lover's card times 3 for the major arcana. And it was the only card that repeated 3 times, and it happens to be the major arcana. Sometimes the Lovers is considered choice, and because this reading is about choosing, you know, how you want to look at things and how our words and our thoughts matter, I think especially in this case for you as you are contemplating a new beginning, just think about how much that is emphasized for everyone throughout this reading as an influence in making new beginnings. We're choosing to make a new beginning. It happens not because we're expecting it to, because we take action in order for that to happen. We also have the Queen of Swords repeated twice, which is the element of air, and the Four of Wands repeated twice, the element of fire. And air and earth are heavily dominant. So this is just a little bit of overall energy before we get into your specific reading to orient us on the map. So there's a north, south, east, and west, and then also the elements, and then the 12 different zodiac signs, and your reading is going to be focusing on your particular zodiac sign. So let's get to it, okay? Hello, Pisces. Let's get into your specific reading. I have the paper here to remind me, and then I will put it up also next to you to remind us, okay, so what brought you to this reading? What resonated with you? I'm hoping that it's something that I said that came through in the previous reading, which was, I take initiative and you are in a fantasy. You got, of course, the Lover's card in your reading for water, along with the 9 of Pentacles and the Knight of Wands. So the Knight of Wands is all about taking action, quick and swift action with the fire energy. The Lovers, as we've discussed, choice. The 9 of Pentacles is sitting pretty with everything that you need in your environment. So how do you take initiative? What kind of choices can you make to take initiative, and are you in a fantasy? Let's see what the cards have to say as we delve in a little bit deeper about this situation. So you might be thinking like, am I in a fantasy regarding a relationship? Am I in a fantasy regarding my sense of security. Like I feel like, am I really as happy and as secure as I feel like I am? Is it possible for me to be happy and secure? Is what, do I have the staying power? Do I take initiative but it has that kind of like lack of consistency, so I lose my passion and I don't really fulfill what it is I'm setting out to do. So let's see what the cards have to say. I'm going to choose 3 potential possibilities regarding this question of taking initiative versus being in a fantasy. So if that was a question, the kind of question would be for clarification on what to take initiative for and where to take initiative and what you might be fantasizing about. So I'll choose 2 different piles there. So advice for taking initiative, advice for what you might be fantasizing about, and then we'll do kind of like action steps. So, all right, at the bottom of the deck, we have 11, which is Justice, the Major Arcana card. Now, I had Justice as my card of the year last year, and I spent a lot of time thinking about justice, and it's very much so in line with the idea of choice, because when we make decisions, we kind of have to weigh things, and we have to balance things out, and we have to choose one, how to make it right. And so just as a little added thing as we go forward, there might be, with Justice as a card, there might actually be consequences. So now we're introducing the idea of consequences. So that might come up in the reading as we go forward. All right, so taking initiative, we got the 5 of Cups. I'm using the pre-Raphaelite cards, by the way, from Lo Scorpio. And it's the first time I've ever used them. So in honor of new beginnings, we have the new deck. So the 5 of Cups, in terms of where you take initiative, this is directing you to focus on your emotional body and your feelings, and in particular addressing some of the negative feelings that you might be experiencing, particularly disappointment. So if you're wondering where to take action, it would be in whatever area of your life you're feeling some disappointment. And as you weigh your options, potential outcomes, pros and cons, and what's going to make you happy, it's important to make the choice that is going to lead you toward your own happiness. Sometimes we can't avoid being disappointed, but those are what your cards are. So I'm thinking that you probably do have choices and options in your life based on the card that you can take initiative on, so that you feel better. All right, so what about the fantasy? What's the card illuminating your fantasy here? We have the 3 of Swords. So these actually pair really perfectly together, because the 3 of Swords is like 3 swords in the heart. It has to do with sorrow. But what swords are part of the mind, they're the air energy. So you might be stuck in a fantasy with your mind and your thoughts and the story that you're telling yourself, that it's not possible for you to make choices, or it's not possible for you to feel better. So you're kind of like feeling the pain and the sorrow. And let me just acknowledge that this card is coming up because there is pain and there is sorrow. So my suggestion for you is to acknowledge how you feel, but also to connect how you're thinking about the situation is impacting how you feel about the situation. You can control your thoughts, and maybe the central card in the middle, along with our Justice card, will give us some clues as to the steps you can take to feel empowered to tell yourself a different story, and ultimately to alleviate some of that sense of feeling of disappointment. Okay, and the the card that we got is the Knight of Swords, and in this deck it's a Pegasus. It's a woman on a Pegasus flying above the city, and she actually has another scale hanging from the collar of the horse. So there's definitely a theme between the two cards, like I was saying, the Justice card and the Knight of Swords, so that there is a theme there, and it does have to do with you making a choice. Again, going back to that that Lover's card that you got, and the taking initiative versus being in a fantasy. I'm just going to summarize it here at the end, which is to say that there's nothing wrong with creating a fantasy that makes you feel better. Go ahead and take the initiative, even if you're fantasizing about a situation. As long as you know the difference between reality and fantasy, that is the important thing. Insanity, or some of the more serious issues occur when we can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality. So considering that you also got the Three of Wands, the Sea, this take initiative idea, it would suggest that if you imagine yourself, the typical image is a person on the cliff watching their ships come in. So to begin an active imagination or a fantasy to help shift your inner mood, it's kind of like daydreaming, this concept of active imagination. You could imagine yourself on a cliff and seeing what it is you desire coming toward you. And the sense of expectation that your needs are going to be fulfilled, that help is going to arise, and that by choosing to engage in this imagination, you can experience your mood potentially shifting. And even though that doesn't change the reality of your circumstances, an experience like that can be a break or a necessary relief from stress and anxiety, or in particular for you, for this card, of pain. And when you have a little bit of a break from something, it can really help you see the situation better and perhaps enable you to make better choices. And this is all about making choices, achieving justice, and doing what's right for you. So I hope you've enjoyed this reading, and I hope it resonates with you. Let me know what you think. And yeah, happy new beginnings. Bye.